how Draper made the point earlier that the Kings so far somewhat reminiscent of the great Warrior teams because they were so dominant in the third quarter. I said somewhat reminiscent. I'm not saying they're the Warriors. They're going to win 3 championships. But last night, case in point, that third quarter, the Kings came out. They were down. They had their whatever they had at halftime, their session. They outscored the Heat 37-17 in the third quarter. Chris Watkins, our buddy, had on X today, third quarter scoring so far, point differential for the Kings in the third quarters of the games, plus 6.6, second best in the league. They're averaging in third quarter so far 31.9 points per game, third best in the league. Field goal percentage in the third quarters, 53.5, which is second. Offensive rating in the third quarters is 123.9, which is third. Defensive rating, 99.4, which is second. So a net third quarters is 24.5 in the ratings. That's second best. And De'Aaron Fox, third quarters here, 8.3 points per game, seventh, 62.2% from the floor, 42.9% from three. Small sample size, I know, but still we're talking 7 games. But the Kings are the Kings of the third quarter.
Yeah, what do you think that? I mean, is it?
I have no idea.
Right? Like, I don't know, like, what's the, is it the adjustments? Is it a mindset? Like, what it is for the Kings going into that third quarter? What happens? But I'll take it, Whitey, because historically that has not been a good quarter for us. It's a 6.6 differential. OKC 7.6 after last night's games, and so I'll take it, man. And the thing about it, what was you had the defensive rating numbers too, right?
Yes, sir. For the third quarter, 99.4, second best.
That's beautiful. So it's not just all they're coming out scoring 39 a game. They're locking teams down. They held Miami to 17 yesterday in the third quarter. And so they're doing something right at halftime, whether it's making the adjustments, the players, getting on each other like we heard about yesterday. I like that. That's encouraging for the Kings.
So going forward here, and hopefully that continues, and maybe at some point we'll figure out what exactly the root of that is. But what are the Kings' biggest concerns 7 games in? To me, it's still those third quarter defensive numbers notwithstanding. They're still a work in progress at best defensively, and we've talked about it a lot today already. I think they're still going to need more production from those who are not starting.
Yeah.
How about you?
I'm with you. I think the bench is probably my biggest concern. I think they're 12th overall in defensive rating. You want it to be a little bit better, but it's not bad. It's not, nothing to be ashamed about or embarrassed about.
Upper half is good.
Upper half, yeah, I'll take that. But we're asking a lot out of our top 6. We're asking Aaron to be great every night. We're asking DeMar to be great every night. And so I would like, one of those games where, remember a couple years ago when we, made it to the playoffs, like a Terrence Davis come off the bench and give me 25 or something like that. We don't see that anymore outside of Malik Monk. Who's that bench guy that's going to step up? I want to see more from those guys.
Yeah, Malik does that, but he's asked to do a lot, right? Coming off the bench.
Yes.
Because he's like the only, and Keon has played well. He was starting last night, but Malik's been the only one who's brought you anything of value consistently off the bench so far.
How about this then? Do you think we need more firepower off the bench in terms of scoring firepower?
Sure. I think they need a little bit of everything. More of everything.
Right. Yeah. No,
but especially length. And our buddy, I think our buddy Dwayne mentioned that. I agree with that.
Dwayne,
and you mentioned if the Bucks continue to unravel, and forget Giannis, but if Bobby Portis is available,
sign me up.
Yeah,
sign me up and get Bobby Portis. Monster night last night in a tough loss against Cleveland.
He'd be in demand. He'd be a lot of demand for him.
And that's the thing, Whitey. And I understand, no Kevin Huerter last couple of games, but when I look at our bench, if the offense is struggling just a little bit, let's say De'Aaron doesn't have it going one night, who's going to rescue us outside of Malik? Like Monty McNair told me one of our strengths was our depth. We haven't seen it yet. We just haven't seen it yet. And so is Jordan McLaughlin going to get a bigger role, turn into a better, a more impactful scorer? What about Keon Ellis when Kevin Huerter comes back? I still think we need like Trey Lyles. if he can give us 10 to 15 a night, I think we need more depth off the bench. And I'm talking about, you know what? I'm talking about box score depth. I want to look at the box score and see our bench outscoring teams. Like, look at the Toronto bench the other night, Whitey. You got the box score right there?
I got it here somewhere.
I know you got it there somewhere. We got obliterated from their bench versus ours a couple of nights ago. And I could pull it up here also. I got it right here also. But that was a key to that game on Saturday.
Well, they got Boucher had 24 off the bench.
Bam, there you go, right there.
Battle had 9.
Right.
Yeah. And 6 for Mobo.
And what do we have?
Off the bench?
Yeah.
Actually, the bench one is 21 for Malik Monk. Keon Ellis had 8. And then Trey Lyles had 5.
Okay. All right. It wasn't that bad, but no way Boucher should be leading, outscoring our top bench guy.
Right.
Like, you know, it just, I feel like, who's our Boucher? And Boucher getting 25 is not usual. Like Malik getting 21, you know, we can expect that from, but who's our second level bench guy that's going to get those points for us?
Yeah.
Like,
You'd like
who's
to
our
have
TD?
A dynamic wing coming off the bench. You could have an
Right.
impact on the game.
Right. And you know, as much as I love, we've talked about Jay Crowder in the past. Jay Crowder's not that guy. I thought Doug McDermott could be that guy a little bit. Get hot, hit 3 or 4
There's
threes.
an interesting story there that we could only guess at, but, you know, for him to start and then, like, you're not
and then
playing.
nothing there. Yeah. I think, to me, Doug McDermott, in terms of offense, is the perfect bench spark plug, if you will. You know, Malik is obviously, but I view Doug McDermott sort of how the Celtics use Sam Hauser. Sam Hauser could come in and hit 3 or 4 threes, bang, 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 right? Like, and that's all you need from him. I feel like Doug McDermott can be that guy for us if given the opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Curtis Hicks, the great Curtis Hicks. I want to see what O-Rob can do. I still think Isaac Jones could do some things for us in about 10 to 12 minutes. The Docos Loco says we still need to figure out the 3-point defense. It's been bad for more than 5 years. The way the Kings, you know, you watch when the ball's on one side of the floor and they're on defense, the weak side defenders, they come all the way into the paint because they're trying to make sure they prevent dribble penetration. Mm-hmm. They're really, because Domas is not a great rim protector and you don't want him in foul trouble. So they really kind of pack the paint and then teams reverse it. And I think the Kings are, it's like, you know, pick your poison, and they're picking their poison. They'd rather have teams shooting threes than getting inside on them. And I think that's one of the issues they're having. And my guess is a guy like Doug McDermott, it's hard for a guy like Doug McDermott to get out there on shooters. When you're playing all the way in the paint, then the other team reverses the ball. You got to cover a lot of ground in a hurry.
Yeah, you got to get out there.
And it's not that you're lazy necessarily, but remember, that's what we heard last year. Oh, they're not closing out well. Well, that's a hard closeout to make. That's what they have to do in this defense. But I think that's part of the problem sometimes.
How about this stat right here? The Kings are giving up the 5th most 3-point attempts out of any team in the league.
Yeah.
And in terms of 3-point defense, the Kings rank 19th in the NBA, which isn't great. You know, Golden State defends the 3 28%, 28.3%. Conversely, Sacramento's giving up 37.2% from 3-point range. That's not going to get it done. You got to do a better job. But remember last year, the percentage, we weren't that great, but we didn't allow that many. It's been, to your point, a market shift in the defense this year where we're more focused on stopping the paint than it seems like stopping the 3.
Doesn't it seem like when they're playing zone, they're giving up a lot of threes, which is that somebody's not playing zone right, because that's why you play zone, right?
Yeah.
I don't have the numbers. I'm just going by, as you say, you know, the eye test.
Yeah. You like that, right? I thought Miami picked it apart too in that first half, especially. I thought Toronto did a good job with it. And I still think when you look at the zone, they're still trying to figure it out. Like, they haven't mastered that yet.
You can tell because they're asking each other questions.
They're still a little confused out there. And so, you know, I could argue that what you're seeing defensively, it might change come January, February. The more they get used to it, the more they get to know it. Somebody from the 916 just texted, I don't mind contested threes that go in, period, but we have too many people who are just wide open making threes against us.
Yeah.
I go back to that Utah game too, Whitey. We won that game But Keontae George, Clarkson, they had a lot of open looks that they just didn't knock down. And so I've been in the practices, been in the shoot-arounds. They're all about contesting the three, no doubt about it. It's what they call it, the high five contest.
Yeah.
Where, that's what they preach and everything like that. But to your point, it's hard to do both when you got the weak side sagging all the way in the line to the middle line down the lane and then trying to get back out also. To your point with Doug McDermott, it takes an elite athlete to actually get back
really
and cover that.
Yeah, and just closing out, period, to me is one of the most difficult things in all of sports.
Yeah.
It's a straight, especially if the guy hasn't dribbled yet.
Yeah.
It's freaking hard.
You're sprinting out there, and then you're afraid that they're going to put it on the floor and go right by you.
Yes.
It's a very small sample size for Doug McDermott so far this year. He's only played 27 minutes, but his defensive rating so far this year is 120.1 compared to the Kings team average, which is 111. So Doug McDermott, compared to the average Kings unit on the floor, is a net negative on defense.
So far, those numbers would suggest, yes, that might be one of the reasons why we haven't seen as much of him. We'll come back. We'll look at Drape's new hat and the fact that, yes, the A's ain't Oakland, but they ain't Sacramento either. And the Kings conversation continues as well. Drive Guys on Sactown Sports.
On the move, got